Why stupid people get power and smart people stay silent, Machiavelli knew this. It's a deeply unsettling observation, one that echoes through boardrooms, government halls, and community organizations across the globe. Individuals who display a clear lack of judgment, skill, or even basic understanding somehow manage to climb the ladder and secure positions of considerable authority. This isn't just an occasional anomaly, it feels like a recurring pattern in human affairs, prompting the question of whether there are underlying mechanisms that favor the rise of those seemingly least suited to lead. We often expect power to correlate with merit, yet reality frequently presents a starkly different picture. This exploration seeks to unravel this counterintuitive phenomenon, drawing significantly on the unflinching political realism of Niccolò Machiavelli, complemented by insights from contemporary psychology, to understand why appearing capable can often trump being capable in the quest for power. Is there a dark logic beneath the ascent of the unqualified, and if so, what did Machiavelli grasp centuries ago that remains relevant today? Machiavelli's Mirror, Reflecting Power's Reality. Niccolò Machiavelli's infamous treatise, The Prince, stands apart from centuries of political philosophy that focused on idealized rulers and ethical governance. Machiavelli wasn't sketching a utopia, he was dissecting the gears of power as they actually turned in the volatile world he inhabited. His work provides a pragmatic, if often chilling, analysis of statecraft, prioritizing the acquisition and maintenance of authority above all else. A central tenet derived from his analysis is the potent political currency of image and reputation. He understood that for a leader, the perception of possessing virtues like compassion, integrity, and decisiveness often carries more weight than the consistent practice of those virtues. The effective prince, in Machiavelli's view, must master the art of appearances, projecting strength and capability even when resorting to less savory methods behind the scenes becomes necessary for survival. This focus on perception inadvertently suggests a potential downside to genuine intellectual depth or unwavering ethical commitment in leadership contests. High intelligence frequently fosters an appreciation for complexity, a healthy dose of self-critique, and a sensitivity to moral ambiguities, traits that can translate into hesitation or perceived weakness in high-stakes power struggles. Those less encumbered by nuance or ethical reflection might project a more convincing, albeit potentially superficial, aura of command, aligning with research hinting that extreme intelligence might sometimes be inversely related to reaching top leadership roles, perhaps due to a reluctance to engage in necessary political maneuvering or self-aggrandizement. The psychological comfort of unearned confidence. Modern psychology offers compelling explanations that complement Machiavelli's observations, notably through the Dunning-Kruger effect. This cognitive bias illuminates the tendency for individuals with low proficiency in a domain to dramatically overestimate their own competence, while those with genuine expertise often underestimate their relative standing. In the leadership arena, this manifests as individuals lacking skill or knowledge, projecting an unmerited, yet often convincing, air of certainty and self-assurance. Their misplaced confidence can be easily misinterpreted by others as decisiveness, vision, and strength, the very hallmarks often sought in a leader. The truly competent individual, aware of the intricacies and potential pitfalls, might express their assessments with more caution and humility, which, paradoxically, can be perceived as less leader-like. Once such an overconfident but underqualified individual attains power, a detrimental pattern frequently emerges. To safeguard their status and mask their deficiencies, they instinctively surround themselves with subordinates who pose no threat. This often means promoting loyalists or individuals even less capable, fostering an environment where sycophancy trumps substance and leading to what can be described as organizational competence decay, or the formation of insulated pockets of mediocrity. This practice erodes the overall effectiveness and resilience of the group or institution. The public's appetite for simplicity and strength. The responsibility for the rise of incompetent leaders does not rest solely with the leaders themselves. The expectations and desires of the followers play a crucial part. Human beings often exhibit a strong preference for simplicity and definitive answers, particularly when faced with complex challenges or periods of uncertainty. This psychological inclination, sometimes termed the need for cognitive closure, makes populations susceptible to the allure of leaders who offer straightforward narratives and bold, unambiguous solutions, even if these solutions lack feasibility or ignore critical nuances. A leader who acknowledges complexity, admits uncertainty, or presents multifaceted perspectives might inadvertently project weakness or indecisiveness in the eyes of an electorate or workforce craving clarity and direction. Conversely, the leader who confidently asserts simplistic slogans and promises easy fixes taps into this deep-seated psychological need, gaining traction even if their platform is built on shaky ground. Machiavelli indirectly addressed this dynamic by observing the potential handicap faced by strictly moral rulers. His notorious assertion that a prince must learn how not to be good and be prepared to act ruthlessly when necessary highlights the competitive disadvantage of ethical constraints. Those willing to operate outside conventional moral boundaries possess a broader arsenal of manipulative tactics, enabling them to potentially outflank more scrupulous competitors in the relentless pursuit of power. Fertile grounds, environments that nurture incompetence. The ascent of the unqualified is not uniform across all contexts. Certain organizational or political environments actively facilitate it. Systems suffering from inadequate performance metrics and feeble accountability structures allow poor leadership to persist without consequence. When feedback loops are broken or non-existent, and there are few mechanisms for challenging or removing underperforming leaders, incompetence can become entrenched. Highly centralized power structures, where authority rests largely unchecked with one or a few individuals, are particularly vulnerable as they lack the checks and balances necessary to curb abuses or correct errors stemming from the top. Information asymmetry, where leaders tightly control the narrative and restrict access to crucial data, prevents informed challenges and allows failures to be concealed. Furthermore, incentive systems heavily skewed towards short-term gains, such as immediate popularity or quarterly profits, encourage superficial decision-making and discourage the long-term strategic thinking characteristic of competent leadership. Cultures lacking psychological safety, where expressing dissent or admitting errors is punished, also contribute by stifling the critical feedback needed to identify and address incompetence. Together, these factors create ecosystems where manipulative tactics can overshadow genuine ability. The playbook of power preservation. Leaders aware of their own shortcomings often employ specific strategies to maintain their hold on power, particularly when their lack of capability threatens to become exposed. A common approach involves cultivating tribalism, dividing society or an organization into loyal in-groups and demonized out-groups. By fostering intense group identity and directing blame towards external scapegoats, these leaders can maintain follower loyalty based on affiliation rather than performance, effectively deflecting scrutiny of their own failures. Another tactic is the deliberate creation of information chaos through propaganda, disinformation, and contradictory messaging, often referred to as doublethink. This overload strategy aims to confuse citizens or employees, erode trust in objective truth, and make critical thinking more difficult, thereby insulating the leader from fact-based challenges. Exploiting economic anxieties is also a potent tool. By playing on fears related to job security, financial stability, or social status, leaders can offer simplistic, often nationalistic or populist solutions that distract from their inability to address underlying complex issues. Finally, undermining trust in independent institutions, such as the judiciary, a free press, scientific bodies, or bureaucratic expertise, serves to eliminate potential sources of criticism and position the leader as the ultimate arbiter of reality, further consolidating their power despite their flaws. Cultivating resistance, strategies for fostering merit. While the dynamics favoring incompetent leadership are powerful, they are not insurmountable. Conscious effort at both individual and systemic levels can help foster environments where competence and integrity are more likely to prevail. Promoting intellectual humility is a starting point. Individuals must cultivate an awareness of their own cognitive biases and the limits of their knowledge. Resisting the allure of easy certainty, and valuing evidence-based reasoning. Enhancing critical media literacy across society is vital in the modern information landscape, enabling citizens to better navigate disinformation, identify propaganda, and evaluate the credibility of sources before forming judgments. Engaging with philosophical reflection on ethics, governance, and the nature of good leadership can provide individuals with a stronger framework for analyzing political discourse and resisting manipulative appeals. Institutionally, strengthening mechanisms for accountability is paramount. This includes implementing robust performance reviews, ensuring independent oversight, considering term limits where appropriate, and guaranteeing transparency in decision-making processes to make it harder for incompetence to hide. Fostering cognitive diversity within teams and leadership bodies introduces varied perspectives that can challenge groupthink and lead to more thorough vetting of ideas and candidates. Finally, a persistent societal demand for transparency from those in power regarding their actions, funding sources, and policy outcomes acts as a crucial check, limiting the space within which incompetence and corruption can flourish undetected. Machiavelli's legacy, a warning, not an endorsement. It is essential to interpret Niccolò Machiavelli's work not as an instruction manual for aspiring autocrats, but as a clear-eyed diagnosis of political reality. His intention was likely not to celebrate ruthless ambition, but to expose the often unpleasant mechanisms by which power operates, believing that understanding these dynamics was crucial for establishing and maintaining stable governance. By pulling back the curtain on the darker arts of statecraft, he provided a form of political education, potentially empowering citizens and more scrupulous leaders to recognize and counteract manipulation. The recurring rise of the foolish to positions of power is therefore not an inescapable fate, but a product of identifiable psychological vulnerabilities, social dynamics, and systemic flaws. Understanding how misplaced confidence interacts with our own cognitive biases, how simplistic narratives exploit our desire for certainty, and how certain environments enable manipulation is the first step toward building systems that are more resistant to this pattern. The enduring aspiration must be for power to be acquired and wielded responsibly, grounded in competence, integrity, and a genuine commitment to the collective good. While Machiavelli starkly illustrated the potential conflict between intelligence, morality, and the raw pursuit of power, the synthesis of wisdom, ethical courage, transparency, and accountability remains the most robust foundation for just and effective leadership in any era. Recognizing how easily the unqualified can ascend is a necessary warning on the path to ensuring they do not dominate. What are your thoughts on this? Let us know in the comments below. And if you want to see more content like this, be sure to like the video and subscribe.